It's time again for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the show covering fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation and destinations right here in the region you live and play in. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, makers of the world-famous wedding ring spinner, by Loophole, America's Optics Authority, and by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Northwestern Outdoors is also sponsored by Wallowa County in Northeast Oregon, where you'll find both nature and fun. By Chad's Coast White Sports Fishing, offering you the affordable Canadian fishing trip of a lifetime. And by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. So grab your fishing rod or hunting gear, load up the boat or lace up your boots, and let's head outdoors with your host, John Cruz.
Well, Merry Christmas. Christmas bird counts have been going on throughout the country and continue through January 1st. If you haven't heard of them before, they offer an opportunity to get outside and enjoy the sights and sounds of wildlife, but these bird counts also serve a valuable purpose. You see, there are designated areas or circles where these counts occur every year, and in some cases, they've been going on since Christmas Day in 1900. These counts provide valuable data about population trends and migratory trends too. Better still, you are more than welcome to participate, and you can do so no matter what your experience level is when it comes to birding. The place to start is on the web. Simply Google Christmas bird count, and you'll find the web page for the Audubon Christmas bird count. From there, look for a bird count taking place near you and contact the person designated as the coordinator. The Christmas bird count. Make it a new holiday tradition. This week on the show, with Christmas and some feel-good things in mind, we're going to be talking to Cindy Carpenter with Youth Outdoors Unlimited. Cindy started this project off in 2011, and I think she took 5 kids with serious disabilities or life-threatening illnesses out on fishing and hunting trips that year, primarily in Washington State. That organization has become a nonprofit, and the effort has grown a lot since then. And we'll check in with Cindy to tell you more about it and how you can help them grow even more. Speaking of great organizations doing things with kids with disabilities and challenges, we're also going to talk to Ken Corson with Creating Memories. Ken founded this organization that gets disabled kids out in the water and in the field for fishing and hunting experiences in Northeast Oregon. He also has renovated a former Boy Scout camp for the kids to use near Wallowa Lake. We've got outdoors news covering everything from a bison poaching incident in Grand Teton National Park to steelhead fishing reports from around the Northwest to ice fishing safety tips, and we are hoping to get Mike Carey on the air with NorthwestFishingReports.com. He's going to tell you about a kokanee die-off that occurred this year in north central Washington's Palmer Lake. He'll also tell you a little bit about his website, great resource, and about his new TV show that airs on Fox Sports 28 in eastern Washington, Idaho, Montana. In addition to this, we've got an extended Max Minute with Lance Mers, some upcoming events you can enjoy outdoors this week, and of course, our Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week, where you get the chance to win a $25 gift card from Sportsman's Warehouse. Oh, and yes, of course, it will be a Christmas-related question. But before we get any deeper into this Christmas weekend edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, Matt Rice is back with another edition of Sportsman Spotlight, and he's got a pretty interesting story to share about an Idaho mule deer hunt.
This is Sportsman Spotlight with Matt and Tom. Filming a solo hunt can be one of the most difficult things to accomplish, especially when you're trying to harvest a mature muley buck. Tom Snyder with Stuck in the Rut relives a fall hunt he won't soon forget.
It's been pretty mild, so I was like, well, I'm going to have to go in the high country. And I made the hike about 2:30 in the morning and hiked for about 2 hours. Because those muleys, they'll go around and browse, and the bucks will chase the does. And then about 2 hours in the sunlight, they'll timber up. So you can kind of catch them in the openings in the first time of light. And as soon as I hit about 46 or 4,700 feet in elevation, I started hitting mule deer tracks, which is a little bit strange because that's pretty low. As I got it higher, I got in the less mule deer sign, but I was still seeing some like roaming buck tracks where you just see a buck track pass through and some openings toward the top of the mountain. And I just glassed. And I had a little rattle bag with me. Pulled that out, rattled 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off, and starting to get cold, so I start hiking a little bit. And as I got my bag on, a mule deer buck walked out in the opening. About 80 yards, I pulled up the scope on it, but I pulled up the scope, saw the mass, and saw his points. I'm like, I think I need to be shooting. He was a little more concerned about my presence, and he actually started to walk back in the timber, stopped him with my mouth, made a couple noises with my mouth, and the buck stopped broadside and shot it and collapsed. I boned him and got him off the mountain.
Thanks for listening to Sportsman Spotlight with Matt Rice.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
You're back with a special Christmas weekend edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We thought we'd talk to Cindy Carpenter. She is the co-founder of Youth Outdoors Unlimited, based out of Moses Lake, but serving kids all over the Northwest. Cindy, Merry Christmas. Welcome to the show.
Merry Christmas, John. Good to hear from you.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Youth Outdoors Unlimited is what, about 6 years old now?
It's our 7th year.
Going
into year number 7, yep.
Well, why don't you tell our listeners who don't know about Youth Outdoors Unlimited a little bit about your organization?
So, Youth Outdoors Unlimited provides fully funded and guided hunting and fishing adventures to kids who are facing either a life-threatening illness or a physical disability. So, that was always our mission, to take these kids and help them in any way we could, create lifelong hunters and anglers, and giving them an opportunity to be part of the outdoors that we all know is great. And so it's been pretty exciting. I know you've seen us grow from 2011, and pretty crazy, huh?
It's really crazy. And I remember that first year when, and I feel horrible about this, folks, but, Cindy asked me for an interview, and I said, let's see if you're going to be around for another year before we do that. and you've been around, and you've done great. And let's talk about this year. What kind of hunts, what kind of fishing trips did you offer kids, and how many did you offer this past year?
So we leave, actually, Joe and I leave on Tuesday for the last hunt of the year for a 13-year-old girl with ovarian cancer. But that will be trip number 17 for us this year. So, considering all the trips are one-on-one and through guide services and sometimes 3 to 5 days, it's quite a venture for us, but it's a lot of fun. So we did 6 bear hunts this year, and 5 of them harvest bears. 4 of them were in British Columbia.
Wow.
And one of them was for a blind girl lived in Yakima, that we took on the Quinault and harvested a nice black bear out of there. And then we had 3 elk hunts. With this hunt coming up, that'll be elk hunt number 4, and 3 of them harvest. And then we had 2 fishing trips, and we had 5 fall deer hunters, and all kids harvested bucks. And some of them smaller than others, but, to those kids, they're just monsters. So
I know when you started, it was your husband and just some family friends that took these kids out hunting. But now, like you said, you've got some guides that are working with you. Who are some of these guides that are working with you and donating these trips?
Well, we worked with, this year we have a great opportunity to go every year into British Columbia. And Bow Run River Guiding, Scott and Lynn Pichette donated a couple of bear hunts for us. And Brad and Lori Bowden with Caribou Mountain Outfitters donated a bear hunt for us this year, and Tammy and Melvin Kilbeck out of Kettle River Outfitters also donated a hunt. And all of those British Columbia hunts, if you've never been up there for a hunt, it's just, the whole trip is great. Just the travel up there and seeing that beautiful country, and the guide services. The Canadian guides are just awesome. So we did that, and then, of course, we went back to the Quinault this year, with Tandy Charlie, and so that was a good opportunity. And then our elk hunts were, a couple of them were at L3 ranches. We had a couple of kids that really medically fragile kids, and one of them actually passed away in 2 months, so that was our opportunity to get him out there. And then our deer hunts are private landowners, so we have areas that can really accommodate a kid with a pretty severe physical disability. We're all wheelchair accessible, and then we had a couple of new hunts out of Starbuck this year with a landowner, and so we've got some new hunts coming in next year we're going to be having available for kids, so hoping for growth and hoping maybe to move 20, 25 kids through our program next year, so we're on a mission to find kids right now.
Absolutely, and you're doing some great stuff. Folks, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Cindy Carpenter with Youth Outdoors Unlimited, and that's my next question. You know, you've got these kids that have faced some real challenges in their life. How do they find you? How do you find them?
We're working on redoing our website and getting it updated, so that's pretty key. We do 6 sportsman shows throughout the year, so you can find us at Puyallup in Portland, and I know some of these, John, that you've been to in Spokane, and Schuler Productions donates a booth space for us at all their Tri-Cities, Yakima, and Wenatchee auctions. And then just a lot of networking, trying to get into communities. We've finally got to know a lot of the social workers at Providence Medical Center in Spokane, so that enables us to get our information out to them, and then they can give it to patients. So it's just a lot of one-on-one and meeting people and speaking to different Rotary groups. You know, we'll go speak anywhere. So people like you that do radio spots for us and help us get the word out there. Facebook, we're real active on Facebook. That's what we do. And then, of course, our families, you know, that have been through our program, they're our big spokespersons for us to turn around and tell other people about the program and what we provided their child, and maybe finding other kids that way.
Well, and that's one thing I always enjoy when I see you at the sportsman shows is you usually have some of those families that are there in the booth with you, and it's a great testimonial when that happens. Let's talk about something else here, and that is the fact that you operate a nonprofit organization, and you rely on funding from the public to help you do what you do. How can people help out this time of year?
Well, of course, we've got some funding needs for 2017, and we are 100% donation funded. So, you know, we currently don't have any grants. We don't sell any products because we're a complete service organization. And we are a 501c3, so we are tax deductible. So if people are looking for their charitable giving for the end of the year, we hope that they'll give us a call and consider Youth Outdoors or attend one of our fundraisers that are coming up in 2017. You know, they can donate an item, John. They can sponsor a firearm for a raffle. You know, volunteering, getting involved that way, and just helping spread the word, too. Absolutely.
And speaking of donations, we have a brand new Camp Chef Everest camp stove, which is like a camp stove on steroids. We're going to donate that to you to use at one of your auctions, and hopefully that gives you a little bit of money.
Awesome. That'd be great. We love Camp Chef, man. We have it at all of our, that's our cooking equipment. So when we set up a tent, and we've got Camp Chef grills and grill boxes and great equipment.
They make fantastic equipment, and I'm sure that somebody will enjoy this. But let's talk about some of the auctions you've got coming up this year, because you're expanding a little bit, aren't you?
We are expanding a little bit. For funding purposes, beyond the money that we raise at our auctions, that's the place that people walk out and go, oh, I get what Youth Outdoors does, you know, because they get to meet the kids. So that's at our auctions is where the kids from that particular area that have been through a program or just completed their trips, that's where they get their taxidermy mounts given to them. And at the Tri-Cities auction that we just completed in October, we gave 6 different mounts out to kids. So some bear rugs and a couple, you know, shoulder mounts and fish, and so it's pretty fun.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. So we are actually running short on time. So we probably need to give out the website so people can go there and find out about giving an end-of-year charitable donation.
So our website is Youth Outdoors and the letter U.org. Youth Outdoors and then just the letter U.org.
All right. That's easy enough to remember, youthoutdoorsu.org, youthoutdoorsu.org. Check out the website, check out what this great organization is doing, and consider an end-of-year donation to help them out for 2017. Cindy, Merry Christmas, and thanks for all you do for these kids.
Oh, you're very welcome, John. Thanks for calling.
This is the time of year to get out and cook out. So make your next meal sizzle with Camp Chef, the brand known for quality outdoor cooking. From camp stoves to cast iron, from smokers to grills, Camp Chef will change the way you cook outdoors. To eat like a king on your next adventure, go to campchef.com or visit your local sporting goods store and get cooking. Whether you're serving breakfast in the backcountry or barbecue on the back patio, savor the simplicity with Camp Chef. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Good hunters know before you take that shot, you've got to see the whole picture. Now, the best way to do that is with a spotting scope, binoculars, or a rifle scope, but it's got to be from Leupold. Now, Leupold is a Northwest company with a reputation that stretches across the world for making superior optics. The kind of optics that allow you to see what you need before making that stock or pulling that trigger. Look for Leupold Optics at your local Cabela store, Dick's Sporting Goods, or online at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optical authority.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a nationwide group working to keep public lands in public hands so future generations can enjoy what we enjoy. Join the group that makes a difference. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
You're back with more of the great outdoors on Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. With us again here in the middle of December is Lance Mers with Max Lure Company. Lance, we talked last week about kokanee fishing, and we talked about Lake Roosevelt, but Lake Roosevelt is also known for having a spectacular rainbow trout fishery that holds up well into the winter.
They are, and they're great fighting fish, too.
Well, and the fish are good size. 14 to 16 inches is kind of average. I've seen reports recently of them being caught up to 22 inches long, so we're talking about some really nice trout here. How are people catching them?
Lake Roosevelt fishing for trout like a very fast trolling speed. I'm usually trolling between 2.2 all the way up to 2.8 miles an hour when I'm fishing for trout on Lake Roosevelt.
That is fast, especially when you're talking to walleye anglers who are trying to troll like 1.2 miles an hour.
Exactly. But one of the things that I'm using to get that flash and attraction in the water is a sling blade. And I'll either use a 4-inch or a 6-inch sling blade. Those fish are big, so they're going to want to see some sort of a bigger presentation. So when I'm up on Lake Roosevelt, I'm going to use a 6-inch sling blade in a high UV color.
So the sling blade is a dodger that has a little bit different shape than other dodgers I've seen. Most of them, I guess, are kind of an oval or a long oval, but this one is tapered almost like a big spoon.
Yeah, it is. And, the cool thing about the sling blade is that you can bend the sling blade into any way that you want. And what that's going to do is it's going to change the action and the presentation of the lure that's being pulled behind it. So there's a variety of ways that you can use this dodger to make it very effective and put more fish in your boat.
All right. Well, next week we'll talk about lures to fish behind the sling blade. But for now, we'll leave you with this dodger that you're going to want for those Lake Roosevelt trout. It's the sling blade. Look for it at a sporting goods store near you or online at maxlure.com. Hey, we're talking to Lance Mers today with Max Lure Company about a brand new lure that's just slaying the trout out there on area lakes. It's the Smile Blade Spin Drift Trout Lure from Max Lure Company. Lance, what makes this lure so special?
Well, we've got our Max Lure patented Smile Blade, our high UV components, and the Spin Drift hook, which gives it a great corkscrew action in the water.
There you go, folks. All three components help you catch more fish. The Smile Blade Spin Drift Trout Lure, only from Max Lure Company.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coast-Wide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
From the Columbia River to Puget Sound, the Coastal Conservation Association in the Pacific Northwest works to conserve the fish we love and does so while protecting our heritage of sport fishing. To find out more, go to ccapnw.org. Again, that's ccapnw.org.
You're back with this Christmas weekend edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, and we're talking to another great guest who's making some people's lives better. His name is Ken Corson. He is the founder of an organization called Creating Memories based in Wallowa County, Oregon. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Ken, Creating Memories, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your organization and what you do?
Well, it's an organization that primarily works with disabled kids of all ages, up to around 20, in the mid-20s, depending on the severity of their disability. And we endeavor to offer the kids adventures that they would never otherwise have an opportunity to do. We bring their parents, their family, caregivers, take them photography, wildlife, have different cabins in the state, and we take them fishing in different areas of the state, take them hunting for both big game and small game, varmint hunting, anything that the kid would like to do that they didn't ever think they would ever be able to have an opportunity to do. I've been doing this since 1971, and now I have quite a group of volunteers. We're all volunteers. We have no paid staff. Any contribution comes in to us goes directly either into the fishing trip or into our cabins and lodges and things like that. So
let's talk about your cabins because your headquarters is basically near Wallowa Lake, south of Joseph,
right.
and you've got an old Boy Scout camp, don't you?
Right. The Boy Scouts they built a new camp over out of Pilot Rock, somewhere out of Pendleton. And this camp, they couldn't get enough scouts to attend during the summertime. To maintain it, they needed about twice as many kids as they were getting. So we're kind of in a partnership with them. We have a 50-year lease, and the scouts still are welcome to come up and use it. Actually, they do a lot of work in the summertime for us. So it's been a good partnership. They have children in their group that work on their merit badges from Dornbecker's Hospital and other children's hospital, and we kind of assist them a little bit in that area.
So, Ken, how many cabins are at this camp? How big is this camp?
It's a total of 90 acres. We have one large log lodge that was never completed. We just got the doors and windows in that. And then we have 3 cabins. We have one cabin that's completely furnished now, and it's being used. We have 2 other cabins that we're trying to get finished this summer. Have a lot of lumber and stuff stacked there, but right now we've got too much snow. And then on the back side of the 90 acres, we're putting in an Indian village with the teepees and the pit houses, and we'll have the fish wheels and the skinning racks and the dry fish racks and things like that. So that is all of a nice bathhouse up there. So it was left for several years, and so there's been a lot of reconstruction doing on it. So we're looking for volunteers and anybody that wants to come up and drive a nail or two that has some ability in that. We've got all the permits and things. It's a beautiful, beautiful camp. About 5 minutes drive up the mountain from Wallowa Lake.
You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Ken Corson about his organization, Creating Memories, and the camp and activities they have for disabled children all the way up to about 20, 21 years old. Ken, let's talk about some of the fishing and hunting trips and other outdoors trips you took your kids out on this past year.
Well, we had about 6 or 8. I'd have to get back to records and look on hunting trips. And most of them were successful on mule deer bucks and whitetail does. We didn't have too much success on our elkons, but they all got some shooting. And then we have a fishing derby over at on the North Outer arm of the Snake River out of Richland, Oregon. Actually, we have some boats over there and some volunteers that take kids and nursing home people all summer long And they fish crappie, bluegill, perch, bass, and the long trips down the river. Some in that area, when they built that dam in there, they flooded out some ranches and towns and things. We have it all mapped out so they can take the boat right across town. You can't see them, but you can get a pretty good guided tour on it. Then we have a boat out of Portland, out of Escada, and that's not, they tell me about an hour's ride from Shriners Hospital, and this spring we'll be using that for day trips and for fishing trips. We have a group up there that's volunteered to give us a slip. The boat that we have there is 24 feet long and 8.5 feet wide, and it's set up for wheelchairs and hospital beds. And then the boat that we have here in Wallowa Lake, that's the new one that the high school kids and a lot of the other community members helped us purchase. It's also 24 feet long and 8 feet wide. They're pontoon boats.
Sure.
And they're easy to put wheelchairs on or walkers or any type of it. So with a disability, we can make special arrangements for them to get on. We have ramps and things like that we just have to look at each person and say, this is what we need for you. And we work that way. Right now, I'm hoping that we'll get the restorations for the cabins that we have, because everything we do for the kids and their families is free. The only thing we ask them to bring is the food and the bedding. And the reason we don't provide meals is simply because a lot of the kids have special diets and things. It would be just logistically impossible to do that.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Ken, we are starting to run a little short on time here, but there's two things I want to get out here. If people are listening and they have a disabled child in their life and they want to contact you to get their kid involved with a fishing or hunting trip, how do they do that?
They can call two numbers. One number is 541-398-0169. And if they want to reach me, they can get me on my cell phone. It's 541-263-2149. And we'd send them all the information, all of the applications and things like that that's necessary for us to keep them in compliance not only with the state regulations but with our insurance.
All right. And another way to do this, folks, is just go to the website. It's creating-memories.com. That's creating-memories.com, or give Ken a call at 541-398-0169 and consider an end-of-year donation. You heard what Ken said. This is all volunteer-driven, but they do need money to keep this going with the boats, with the lodge, and just to make these trips possible. So, again, the website, creating-memories.com. There's a donate link when you get there. And if you want to participate, also go to that website. Ken, thanks so much for what you're doing for these special kids, and I hope you have a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you. A Merry Christmas to you, too.
Are you ready for some real adventure? Then wake up to winter in Wallowa County. Grab your camera, put on your snowshoes, and take a professionally guided hike into the quiet solitude and breathtakingly rugged beauty of the Eagle Cap Wilderness. Or sleep under the stars and test your mettle with some winter camping and ice fishing for kokanee and trout at Wallowa Lake. Or bring your snowmobile to Salt Creek Summit and explore Wallowa County on 150 miles of Northeast Oregon's best trails. Your outdoor winter adventure begins at www.wallawacountychambers.com.
2017 is here, and that means it's time to go to the biggest and the best sportsman shows in the Northwest. Brought to you by O'Laughlin Trade Shows. Things kick off with the Washington Sportsman Show from January 25th through the 29th at the State Fairgrounds in Puyallup. Following that is one of the biggest shows in the country, the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show, taking place at the Expo Center in Portland from February 8th through the 12th. And don't forget the Central Oregon Sportsman Show, March 2nd through the 5th at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds in Redmond. Check out seminar schedules, special attractions, and discounts at otshows.com. That's otshows.com for the biggest and best sportsman shows in the Northwest.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after, whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out in the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of its Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Welcome back to this Christmas weekend edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Merry Christmas. It's time for some outdoors news and reports from the field. We start off, unfortunately, with a bad news story where two poachers were convicted of killing a bison in Grand Teton National Park. It happened in early December of 2015, according to the Jackson Hole News and Guide. That's when the Oregon couple poached this bison inside the park, then illegally drove an all-terrain vehicle off the road to pick up its remains. Grand Teton law enforcement rangers and Wyoming Game and Fish Department wardens were able to figure that out based on evidence at the scene. Thanks to help from witnesses and some leads, they traveled to Oregon. They contacted Gary Washington and his wife, Lori Washington, who admitted they had indeed shot the bison in the park. And that's where officials confiscated the bison meat, the head, and the hide. Now, bison hunting is open in certain areas outside the park, but certainly not within the national park. In October, Gary Washington pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor Lacey Act charge, and Lori Washington pled guilty to an illegal take of wildlife. Gary's sentence included over $8,000 in fines and fees, 3 years of unsupervised probation, and a global hunting ban through 2017. Lori Washington lost her hunting privileges for the same duration, faces 3 years of unsupervised probation, and paid a $35 court processing fee. Personally, I've got to tell you, it probably cost the government more to do this investigation than what they were fined in the end. And I really think that egregious acts like this ought to have some jail time attached for what it's worth. Moving on to field reports. Idaho Fish and Game steelhead harvest reports for the week ending on the 11th of December showed the lower Salmon River was fishing well, with 16 anglers checked with 16 fish downstream from the Little Salmon River. The Clearwater from the mouth to Orofino continues to be a decent bet as well. 62 anglers were checked with 39 steelhead. In southwest Washington, steelhead angling was slow during the week of December 6th to the 12th on the Cowlitz and Lewis rivers, but the Kalama was giving up some fish. 86 anglers were checked who caught 14 fish. Not exactly red hot, but better than the other two rivers. In Oregon, the Anna River near Summer Lake can be a good bet this time of year, even with the freezing temperatures. It's a spring-fed river. It never freezes, and there are plenty of rainbow trout to be found there. From personal experience, I can tell you this is a tough river to fish with hardware, so plan on bringing your fly rod. The folks at the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife recommend using caddis flies or blue-winged olives in size 18. If you're not a fly guy, consider fishing worms or eggs under a slip bobber. And in Montana, as well as other parts of our frigid Northwest this week, the cold weather we've been experiencing means it's time to start ice fishing. You want to be safe, though, and here's some info from Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks that can come in handy for you. If you have even the slightest doubt about the safety of the ice, stay off of it. No fish is ever worth a fall into frigid water. Blue ice is usually hard, but watch out for opaque, gray, dark, or porous spots in the ice that could be weak, soft areas. Ice also tends to thin more quickly at the shorelines. The following are considered to be minimums. That's right, minimums needed with ice thickness. 4 inches is one person with gear. 5 inches, a small group can venture on the ice as long as they're spread out. If you've got 6 inches of ice, it'll handle a snowmobile or an ATV. 9 inches will handle a small automobile, and 12 inches, a pickup truck or SUV. However, be advised, lakes are not meant for highway travel. Not recommended to take your car out there, but if you must, proceed at your own risk. And now we are going to talk to a special guest who's got all sorts of information for you. Next on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we're checking in with our old friend Mike Carey. He is the founder of WashingtonLakes.com, which is now known as NorthwestFishingReports.com. He's even got a TV show that airs on Fox 28 out of Spokane. And he's also got some really interesting news for us this week. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
So, Mike, kind of bummer news for Christmas, but you had a very interesting report on NorthwestFishingReports.com about Palmer Lake. It's a little-known lake in north central Washington in Okanogan County, not far from the Canadian border, but those in the know have always appreciated it as a great kokanee fishery, but that all changed this year, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Palmer Lake's always been a quality kokanee fishery. It's sort of out of the way, so it's hard to get to for most guys, especially on the west side. But we got a fishing report from one of our members who had indicated that the lake the kokanee had crashed. And being the skeptic that I am with online fishing reports, I asked him for some links or some contact people, and he gave me a couple. And I contacted a fishery manager over in that region, and sure enough, the kokanee have collapsed on Palmer Lake.
Now, was this because of a forage base, or was it something else?
Well, what I was told was that anglers in the spring started noticing a lot of parasites on the fish, and they're copepods, which are, to the guys that fish out in the saltwater, we're all familiar with copepods because sea lice are copepods. Copepods are a normal species in most lakes and out in the saltwater, and they live in harmony with fish for the most part. But for some reason on Palmer, the numbers went up sky high, and so they were finding the kokanee gills covered with the copepods and hanging off of fins and such. And so as the season progressed, the fishing got worse and worse, and by the fall, when they went to trap the kokanee, there were no kokanee coming into the traps whatsoever, so they knew they had a pretty significant problem at that point.
Wow. So are there plans to restock, or what, if anything, is the Department of Fish and Wildlife going to do?
So there's a couple of plans on the horizon. In the spring, they're going to be doing some vertical netting to try to determine if it was a collapse of just this year's spawning fish or if it's more significant. And of note, they didn't see any mass die-offs or kokanee floating on the lake, so that's a bit of a mystery. But so they'll be doing the netting in the spring, doing further research to try to figure out exactly what was going on. As far as the lake itself, they have kokanee from Concanoli Lake, which they will be able to take the fry and use to replenish Palmer Lake and Lake Concanoli and other lakes in the area. There's still going to be fish to be planted.
One other question for you. Palmer Lake's also known as a good smallmouth bass fishery. Any indication those fish were affected?
Yeah, good question. Absolutely none. No other species were encountered with the parasites. And there's, as you say, there's bass. I believe there's perch, there's trout, and there's burbot, too, I believe, in the lake. And those species were unaffected. It was just the kokanee.
All right. Well, if you want to find out more about this, folks, go to Mike's website. It's NorthwestFishingReports.com. Mike and his crew do a great job of reporting on the fishing scene and compiling fishing reports from all over the Northwest to help your next trip be successful. Speaking of successful trips, tell our listeners about your new TV show.
Yeah, we're really excited. We launched here in the fall, and we're on about episode 7 or 8 now. We're on Fox 28 in the Inland Empire, so that's the Spokane market into Idaho, up into Canada, and eastern Washington. And we've actually, the last few weeks, the show's been doing so well that they've moved us from an early morning slot into afternoons on Saturdays. So getting good feedback from people contacting Fox, and everything is going great. We have a lot of fun with the videos, and now with the TV show, it's just an added dimension for people to get information out there on fishing in the Northwest.
And what is your airtime on Saturday afternoons?
So Saturday afternoons we'll be showing at 2 o'clock.
All right. So Saturday afternoons, 2 p.m., Fox 28 and the Inland Empire. Go ahead and check out Northwest Fishing Reports, and go to the website, too, at NorthwestFishingReports.com. Mike, thanks for the information, and a very Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, John, and Merry Christmas to you and to all your listeners.
If you've ever been fishing in Mexico, you know how good it can be, and now you can fish there with the Real News. Take your choice of a trip to Baja's East Cape for roosterfish, marlin, and dorado. These trips are value priced, so you can stretch your dollars in fun. To find out more about fishing Mexico with the Real News, log on to therealnews.com or call 425-334-8966. Again, that's therealnews.com or 425-334-8966. For an incredible adventure.
Be sure to take in the Tri-City Sportsman Show taking place January 20th through the 22nd at the track in Pasco. Lots of fun events for the kids, great seminars for all of you outdoorsmen and women, and lots of fantastic vendors too. It's the Tri-City Sportsman Show, January 20th through the 22nd at the track in Pasco.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Welcome back to this Christmas edition of Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Let's go through a couple of upcoming events before we go. First off, if you are in the holiday spirit, go check out the lights that are blazing at some areas around the Northwest this weekend. One of them, Shore Acres State Park down on the southern Oregon coast. The Botanical Gardens in Boise are a great place to go. I've had that experience, and a place close to my home. The Bavarian-themed town of Leavenworth in Washington Central Cascades is lit up and absolutely gorgeous this time of year. If you're into wildlife watching, it is the Christmas whale watching week along the Oregon coast from the 26th through most of the rest of the week. You're going to find volunteers at state parks and waysides along the Oregon coast that will help you spot the migrating gray whales. And now it's time for your Sportsman's Warehouse trivia question of the week. Everyone knows that reindeer pull Santa's sleigh, but reindeer, as they are known in the Arctic reaches of Europe, are known by another name here in North America. Do you know what that name is? What do we call reindeer here in North America? If you know, you can contact us through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com or go to our Facebook page, Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Like our page, look for the post, give us your answer there. One lucky person who knows the right answer is going to win a $25 gift card from Sportsman's Warehouse, which will come in real handy for those after Christmas sales. While you're on the web, tune into our show and our sister show, America Outdoors Radio, on WRVO Radio. The website to get there, RenoViolaOutdoors.com. They've got outdoors programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's RenoViolaOutdoors.com. That's all for this week. As we enjoy Christmas together, I hope you'll remember the real reason for the season. It's not Santa, it's not the reindeer. No, we are celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, our Savior. And with that, I wish you a Merry Christmas, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.